In an unexpected turn of events, the Supreme Court has just shaken the very foundation of U.S. gun control. This major ruling could change everything about how firearms are carried across the nation. Stay tuned to find out why this is happening right now and what it means for your Second Amendment rights. Chapter 1. The U.S. Supreme Court's Landmark Decision. The U.S. Supreme Court has issued a landmark decision that has sent shockwaves through the legal community. In a stunning 6-3 ruling, the court has effectively ended the era of firearm permits. This landmark decision, supported by the Department of Justice and multiple states, marks a monumental shift in gun control policy. The legal landscape is shifting, and the impact of this ruling is far-reaching. For decades, the nation has relied on permit systems to regulate who can and cannot carry firearms. But with this decision, the court has dismantled that system. The right to bear arms no longer needs approval or permission from government officials. It's a constitutional right. Nothing more, nothing less. This marks a turning point in how the country approaches gun rights and freedom. Chapter 2. A century of control is over. For over 100 years, states have controlled who gets to carry a firearm by enforcing complex permit systems. Citizens have had to prove their worthiness by jumping through bureaucratic hoops, paying fees, and undergoing training. But with the Supreme Court's ruling, the days of this type of government control over individual rights are over. The court has made it clear that the Second Amendment does not require government permission to exercise one's right to carry a firearm. This ruling eliminates the need for permits and sets a precedent for future legal battles. It's not just a change in the law, it's a dramatic shift in how we understand our constitutional rights. Chapter 3. The first shift in American history. This decision represents a pivotal shift in American history. For the first time in history, the Supreme Court has ruled that the Second Amendment's protection does not require validation through government permission slips, application fees, or waiting periods. The bureaucratic wall that has been put up to protect the right to bear arms is now crumbling. This is a victory not just for gun owners, but for personal freedom. The ruling signifies that rights, once guaranteed by the Constitution, cannot be subject to bureaucratic approval. No longer will citizens need to prove their worthiness to carry a firearm. This ruling sets a strong legal foundation for the future of gun rights in America. Chapter 4. DOJ's Surprising Acceptance. For decades, the Department of Justice, DOJ, fought against the expansion of the Second Amendment. But in this case, something has changed. The DOJ, once a staunch opponent of gun rights, did not challenge the court's ruling. Internal communications show the department's surprising acceptance of the decision, signaling a significant shift in the federal government's stance on gun rights. This signals a broader shift within the government, with the DOJ stepping back and allowing for a national movement toward constitutional carry. This shift in federal policy sets the stage for broader legal battles across the country, as states will now have to contend with a new, more expansive interpretation of the Second Amendment. Chapter 5. The Rise of Constitutional Carry Across the Nation. Before this ruling, constitutional carry was only legal in select states, primarily in the South and Midwest. But now, thanks to the Supreme Court's decision, constitutional carry is set to become a reality across the entire country. This ruling opens the door for all law-abiding citizens to carry firearms without the need for permits. States that once imposed strict restrictions on carrying firearms are now exposed to legal challenges. Gun owners are now empowered with the legal right to carry without government interference. The court's ruling eliminates the patchwork of state laws, providing a single constitutional rule that applies nationwide. Chapter 6. States like California, New York, and Illinois scramble. Naturally, the ruling has sent shockwaves through states with strict gun laws. States like California, New York, and Illinois, which have long relied on stringent permit systems, are scrambling to figure out how to respond. These states have built their gun control frameworks on the premise that permission slips are necessary to carry firearms. But with the court's ruling, those frameworks are crumbling. Gun rights organizations are already filing lawsuits in these states, challenging their restrictive laws. These states will now have to face the reality that their restrictive laws no longer hold up against the Second Amendment. This is a critical turning point that will have far-reaching consequences for gun control in America. Chapter 7. The economic impact of the ruling. This ruling doesn't just affect the law, it's shaking the very foundation of the gun control industry. For decades, the permit system has generated billions of dollars in revenue through application fees, background checks, training programs, and government databases tracking licensed carriers. But with the Supreme Court's ruling, this entire industry is on the verge of collapse. The government-run permit systems that were once profitable are now facing the prospect of collapse. Many states have already begun canceling permit fees, and training companies are reporting cancellations of their government contracts. This is a significant financial disruption to the gun control industry that has long relied on the permit system as a cash cow. Chapter 8. States act quickly to secure constitutional carry. As the dust settles from this landmark ruling, states across the country are moving quickly to secure constitutional carry as law. Florida, Texas, and Montana have already passed legislation to remove permit requirements, ensuring that citizens' rights are upheld without delay. Other states are also following suit, drafting constitutional amendments to lock in this victory for the long term. Governors and state legislatures are acting swiftly to make sure that citizens' rights are protected. These quick actions ensure that the changes made by the Supreme Court are fully implemented and protected from future challenges. This is a coordinated effort to ensure that freedom is permanent, regardless of political shifts. Chapter 9. Law enforcement navigates a changing landscape. Amidst the celebrations and legal victories, law enforcement agencies find themselves caught in the middle. With the implementation of the new laws, sheriffs and police officers are now navigating a rapidly changing landscape where old rules no longer apply. Some local departments are still clinging to the old permit systems, creating confusion and conflict with state guidance. This is a necessary adjustment as law enforcement agencies adapt to a new era of greater freedom. Sheriffs and police officers will have to update their procedures and adjust to a system where permits are no longer required. While it may take time for full implementation, this shift is ultimately a victory for freedom. Chapter 10. Gun control groups fight back. The response from gun control organizations has been swift and loud. Groups like Everytown for Gun Safety are calling the decision a disaster, pledging to fight back against the ruling. But despite their protests, the ruling stands. Anti-gun lobbies are now scrambling to find new ways to curtail this newfound freedom. These groups are trying to redefine gun control by pushing for new training requirements and creating sensitive areas where carrying firearms would still be prohibited. However, these efforts face an uphill battle, as the court's ruling leaves little room for creative rebranding of gun control laws. The fight from anti-gun advocates is not over, but the ruling has tilted the legal landscape in favor of gun owners. Chapter 11. The Constitutional Transformation. This ruling is the culmination of years of judicial transformation. It builds on past landmark decisions like the 2008 Heller ruling and the 2022 Bruin case, affirming that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to bear arms without needing government approval. This decision reinforces the idea that the Constitution's original intent must be honored, and rights cannot be infringed upon through bureaucratic procedures. While this ruling is a significant victory, the fight for gun rights is far from over. The real test will be how states implement and enforce the new standard. Some states will likely push back, introducing new laws to circumvent the court's decision. But as it stands now, this ruling marks the beginning of a new chapter for gun rights in America. Chapter 12. The battle isn't over yet. This ruling is a win not just for gun owners, but for all Americans who believe in the Constitution. The court has drawn a clear line in the sand, and it's up to the people to make sure that line is never crossed again. The battle for the Second Amendment is far from over, but today, we've entered a new phase. As the legal battles continue, it's important to stay informed and engaged. The future of gun rights will depend on how this decision is implemented and upheld across the nation. Gun owners, legal experts, and advocates will continue to fight to protect this victory and ensure that the Second Amendment remains as strong as ever. Chapter 13. A victory for all Americans, the Supreme Court has spoken. The era of permits is fading, and true freedom is reclaiming its place in America. What happens next is in the hands of the people and their fight for freedom. This ruling is a testament to the power of the Constitution and the enduring spirit of the American people. Now, it's up to all of us to protect the rights that have been guaranteed to us by our founding fathers. The fight for freedom is far from over. But with this ruling, we've taken a giant leap forward. The future of gun rights in America is brighter than ever, and the battle for the Second Amendment has entered a new phase.